technical aspect of ICP, and it's actually handling the extension of networks, right? Did I get it right?
You mean what does ICP do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so ICP is a network. It's a layer one blockchain. At the same time, you can almost imagine it as a parallel universe, as a parallel internet where you run applications. The seemingly innocent, very you cannot tell any difference. Web applications just running on this parallel universe. The only difference is they don't rely on the Amazon Web Services or Google or Microsoft Azure. The power, as I briefly mentioned earlier, the power comes from those independent data centers, and they all have our SDK. So they run through this consensus. So in a way that we use the cryptographic technology from the blockchain industry to provide the security, and then we scale the network through subnets. So you can imagine each subnet is basically an independent blockchain. So whenever a subnet is become full with too many applications or too many users, we can just add another subnet. So that's how we scale horizontally. By the way, that's very that's something similar. Some other ecosystem try to do as well, such as Avalanche, Near is trying to do that, and the sharding notion from Ethereum 2.0 is actually very similar to that as well. But that's the sort of the network we have. That's how we scale.
I see. Thanks, Herbert. And you also said that you have been in the internet technology industry for almost 20 years, right? 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the rise of crypto. What's your view towards this sparkling and also disruptive technology from a point of view? Because that's a long landscape, right?
As a long landscape, there's a benefit of being a bit of older and a bit of longer in this industry. It actually reminds me of the early days of internet. We don't call that web. That's Web 1, the Web 1 version of internet. It was a bit of Wild Wild West, and people were very creative, and you saw new things every day. And that was a time of the independent website owners. Everybody tried to build their own websites. There's no tooling, so you have to create everything yourself. So the current, all this rage of Web3 and all that actually reminds me of the early, beautiful day, innocent, the age of innocence of the early days of where creativity and disruption just pop up every day, left and right. Sort of, in the way that the Web 2, we sort of took a detour. It fell into the hands of big tech giants, all the fans and the BATs, now TikTok and Meituan. And essentially, it's wonderful because it allows consumers to create content. And content is great. I mean, look at the Xiaohongshu, right? Little Red Book. Who would have thought Xiaohongshu will become what it is today? Yeah, one of the things I was telling my friends yesterday, I could not imagine that one of the things for me that happened during 2022 is I got hooked up to Xiaohongshu because it has become the go-to source for a lot of great information, right? But then the problem of Web 2 is nobody owns anything. Nobody owns anything, right? So that is something I think a lot of us in the blockchain industry, we just feel something is wrong, something's missing there. So I'm glad now with all this focus on Web3 and digital sovereignty and all that for individuals, we're sort of bringing back I think the attention to really who owns data and what we can do about that. So I think to me that's very important.
Yeah, I think you also mentioned one point about what's important for the internet is the ecosystem, right? But I think there's also another part that's also very significant and important. That's data storage, because the traditional tech giants, they have the capability to handle that and achieve this, handling such a enormous amount of data.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Johnny. So I think that my answer to that question, I think I get this question probably every 2 weeks, and my answer has been the evolving process as I'm trying to learn, continuous learning about ICP myself, and also draw from my own experience from working for Amazon Web Services. I think there are a couple of reasons I can share. One is the simple one, the more visible one. First of all, there's no file system in the world of ICP. There are no files. Right? So I used to do 3 startups, different points, and I used to lead an engineering team myself. I ship product to App Store. A lot of time as web developer, we spend time fighting with different file systems. It's about moving this file from this place to another place and to make sure they are synchronized. Essentially, that's what we do a lot of time, right? With the technology of Internet Computer Protocol, there's no file system. Everything is stored in the memory, in the stable memory, in terms of states. Say, for example, the weather in Shanghai today is 4 degrees. So these 4 degrees, this is the state of this particular variable, and that persists in the stable memory, what we call that orthogonal persistence. So there's no file. We don't get into too technical, but there's no file system. So that saves a lot of just work for the developers, and it's an entirely different way of designing the web application. That's number one. Number two, there's no additional labor for the data centers to deploy the machines. When I came from Amazon Web Services, I understand it's very expensive to deploy a region, like an AWS region, right? There are, I think, around 30 regions of AWS around the world. Each and every one of them costs tens of millions of dollars in investment. And once you provision those machines, whether it's for AWS or for Ali Cloud or Huawei Cloud, you have to deploy large number of engineers to maintain those machines, to maintain the SLA, to make sure they are always up and running, to do all these security patches and all that. And that's expensive. So eventually all that cost, the labor cost, will be passed down to the customers, right? And also, for example, in AWS, if you are a large-scale customer, you have to pay for a lot of the services, basically for engineering services that you probably will not imagine from day one. In day one, okay, you press the button, you get some computation power in an elastic manner. Voila, that's great. Well, that's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now you realize, okay, because you have to get rid of your original IT team completely, right? This whole cloud computing thing is very new. You have to pay for consultants to help you do the migration. Usually it takes a couple of months. You have to pay for the TAM. We call that a technical account manager from Amazon Services, and then it just goes up. So you actually end up spending a lot of time paying for labors, like a highly specialized software engineers, solution architect, and all that, to maintain, continue to use cloud computing infrastructure. But with ICP, we have greatly simplified that. So I think that's reason number two. And reason number three is very important in terms of how we can save cost. This is not unique to Divinity Foundation. I think it's very. This is one of the great benefits from crypto. That is, we are a nonprofit. We're a nonprofit organization, headquartered in Zurich. We are not like a commercial legal entity like Amazon. So for Amazon had this great product called AWS that has a net profit of 20% every year. What is it gonna do? It will continue to charge that profit because that's what the shareholders want. And so eventually, a lot of people get a windfall of stocks from Amazon. Right? There is something not right. Everyone involved. There's no stopping of this wonderful machine. Once the machine is on, you find that product market fit. It keeps running. It keeps charging as much as profit as possible from every customer. But in crypto or in ICP, that's not how this whole thing is set up. We don't own those data centers, so we don't make any money from providing those data storage and all that. We don't provide that. Those are the independent data centers. They have their own economic model where hopefully they can maintain a healthy margin and all that. But then I think over the long term, that's going to become increasingly a commodity business. So basically, for the user, the end users, the trend is going to be you pay for what you need. You pay for what you need, because that's how competitive this industry is. As an application developer, I will have to charge you. If I had to charge you anything at all, fee has to be low enough to attract you, and that's how I can survive. And that is a very different scenario from Web 2. In Web 2, eventually you want to become a unicorn. You are answerable to your shareholders, to Andreessen Horowitz and Sequoia, and you have to extract maximum amount of money from the customers. But they don't talk about that usually. But that's a reality. So I think in the Web3, it gives us a chance to really, to allocate the wealth in a fairer manner. In the end, the benefits go to the consumer. That's how we can is from a sort of a non-technology standpoint, lower the cost for the users.
I see. I kind of get your point, because some Web2 giants are too dominant, right, in their ways, and then
Once they're in that driver's seat, who's gonna tell them to stop? Nobody.
Exactly right. Exactly. So you also got a great point about those, I think, are not very necessary expenditure when it comes to maintaining the service. And the ICP kind of provides a cheaper alternative to people using computation power, right? And
yes.
Yeah, I get it right. Okay. Very
yes.
cool. Yeah. And then let's delve into another question, which is also very interesting. Some people would compare ICP with other protocols, like you mentioned, like Near and Avalanche. Could you give us a picture about who's better at which, and then how do we compare among these competitors?
We compete, and we also want to collaborate. Let's just talk about the differences. The difference is really okay. So basically, I think there are probably three types of. I don't want to call them competitors. That sounds really sort of hostile, but we're just different, right? So there is one that is EVM compatible. That is sort of the Ethereum, the Ethereum world, and all of them, they try to become a better version of Ethereum, right? So that's one camp. The other camp is infrastructure players, such as Filecoin and Arweave that provide IPFS solutions. And then the other camp is the good old Web2 infrastructure providers, such as obviously Amazon Web Services, Alibaba, Tencent, and all that, right? So there are these three camps. And ICP is different from all three in the sense that, so for the first one, for the Ethereum camp, we do have our own smart contract that is canister based. Canister is more like a Docker, like a light version of Docker, but it does a lot more things than the Solidity based smart contract on Ethereum. It can host an entire website. So that's a major difference. And then in terms of, another difference is there's no gas fee for IC. Right? One of the defining characteristics of Ethereum or the Ethereum type of network is a high gas fee. Right? They all, of course, Solana, and then they all have to do certain trade-offs in order to lower the fee. Sometimes security, sometimes decentralization. On internet computer, we have this thing called a reverse gas fee model. We have our transaction fee. We only have it's nothing more than to prevent DOS attack. So other than that, there's no gas fee. So that's a very different. That's a major philosophical and also technological difference. So that's the difference between ICP and the Ethereum world. And then with Filecoin and Arweave, right? We all can do data. We all can store data. But then I think for Filecoin, it's mostly code data that you don't have to use right away. You don't mind, stashing it away so that you can get a low price solution. But then for ICP, we can handle both. We can handle both code data as well as hot data that you want to use next minute. That will change very dynamically depending on how the app is designed. And then the difference between ICP and the traditional is, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, and also Apple, they are all highly centralized platforms. So as an app developer, as a user, you're always vulnerable to this platform risk. I mean, they can remove you, they can deplatform you, they can erase you, right? Like 70% of all the nodes for Ethereum network run on Amazon Web Services. So technically speaking, Amazon can just shut it down if they want to. Of course, that's a whole different story. But it's not as rosy or as decentralized as.
Let's not get too skeptical here.
Yeah. But for ICP, it's everything we're trying to do here, whether it's about the nodes operation or the voting power or the way that we drive our ecosystem, we want to be as decentralized as possible. So I just, in a very, very high level, so these are the differences between ICP and these three different camps of players in the industry.
Okay, but Ethereum has the most gravity in the Web3, smart contract world. And what do you think about the potential of ICP, grabbing some of these gravity, some of these developers, some of these users on board to ICP? What are the challenges? I think, I just want to raise one point. Maybe there's a lot of education to do in the future, but what about now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Johnny. So there's a lot we can learn from Ethereum. And the Ethereum ecosystem is very decentralized in terms of, not necessarily in terms of computing power, but really in terms of how the community is organized, how community, makes decisions. There's a lot of things we can learn, I think, just for the entire industry, including Definity Foundation. So we gotta do more of that, be more decentralized in terms of how we charter our roadmap, how we solicit feedback, suggestions from the community, how we build something together with the community developers. So that's something we want to learn from Ethereum. And then just this year, I think our relationship is gonna enter into a whole new different stage, because we are working on this Ethereum ICP direct integration, which in a very, very high level, you can interpret it as we can position ICP as another layer 2 on Ethereum, to basically the smart contract on Internet Computer Protocol can interact directly with smart contract on Ethereum without relying on a centralized bridge, right? We don't want to do any bridges. There are already too many bridges in the industry. They are not very secure. So this Ethereum ICP integration is our way of reaching out to the Ethereum ecosystem and empower the developers of the Solidity developers and try to bring some of them to our ecosystem as well. Actually, as we speak, our team, we have quite a team from Definity also at East Denver. We have a booth there, and our CTO, Yang Kamenesh, he's scheduled to make a keynote speech on Friday, tomorrow, Friday. Yeah. So if you guys there, just stop by and say hi. We want to have more collaboration with projects in the Ethereum ecosystem definitely in 2023. So we
Web3 role, and I think this is a very good and efficient way to sort things out.
Totally. I mean, we think that interoperability is going to be one of the major themes in 2023. And just from a technology standpoint, that's one of our goals, to make the ICP technology more interoperable to the Bitcoin crowd as well as Ethereum crowd, because we can do certain things that will be difficult for them to do, and vice versa. So we want to complement each other and then grow together.
Yeah, thanks, Robert.
Herbert, just now you were talking about how you want to focus on your ecosystem moving forward. Can you explain to our listeners how is the ICP ecosystem going currently, and maybe throw in one or two great projects to introduce to our listeners as well?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ryan, for this great question. So I feel really, really psyched about where we are right now in terms of our ecosystem growth. I joined Divinity Foundation almost 2 years ago just to do this. And it's very different from the days of AWS. But it's very fun. I have the fortune of meeting with a lot of really creative developers. And I feel that our ecosystem is at a very exciting sort of the moment right before the dawn. If you take a step back, look at sort of the evolution of our ecosystem growth. I can break it down into 3 stages. In stage 1, after we launched our mainnet in May 2021, the primary goal was to build a scalable network that will never go down. Right? That's the first and foremost thing. The network should never go down. The lights cannot go out. I think we have achieved that. Our network has, happy to report, our network has never gone down. There are a few moments when it came pretty close. It was fairly slow. I remember in 2021, when the first NFT project was launched on ICP, that created quite a bit of a traffic jam. And then also December last year, we released these test coins called the SNS1 that also caused massive traffic jam. But the network became very slow because of some really some of the mistakes we made. But it never went down. It was just plugging away slowly. So that's the first objective. I think we have largely achieved in the past 1.5 years. Now we are entering into the phase 2 of this ICP universe. Now I feel like I'm talking about the Marvel universe. This is stage 4. In the stage 2, the primary goal is to empower entrepreneurs and developers to incubate those startups, and that's what we're trying to do now, right? So in 2023, the focus right now is really DeFi. We need DeFi to take off on IC, because we even though I have to preface that by saying, one of the major differences between ICP and Ethereum is primarily infrastructure layer for financial assets. I think we all agree. That's what Ethereum does extremely well. ICP is more of an application layer. We do application for Web3. So it's not. So there are certain attributes of ICP that some might argue that is not ideal for doing DeFi transactions. But we need DeFi to take off on IC, and that's going to happen this year. We just organized this called ICP Lab. It's incubation. It's a boot camp that Divinity Foundation we organize for the best and brightest developers in our DeFi ecosystem. We invited them to come to Zurich, where our headquarters is, and spend a couple of days with Don Williams, our founder and chief scientist, and the entire R&D team, just to bounce off ideas, try to solve things. So what I saw there in Zurich, that wonderful 1 week, that was exciting. I think there's some truly, I think, future unicorns of our ecosystem, will be born out of this boot camp. So I think if the DeFi is going to take off, which means we're gonna start having TVLs flowing into the IC ecosystem. I think one thing but that's going to change once we complete this direct integration between Ethereum and ICP, which means we're going to be able to pour over those tokens that are compatible to ERC20. So we're gonna make available all the trading pairs available for the DEX on the IC ecosystem, and there are quite a few of them already. They're just waiting for those trading pairs to become available, and that's going to happen in the next few months. So that's, I think, really a very exciting moment we all look forward to, in the first half of this year. And then if we just go beyond DeFi, I think a couple of sectors look really. Hey, where's Ryan? Did Ryan just?
I think it's here. Yeah, we're listening. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So
I'm listening, Alice.
I think there are another few very interesting sectors in IC that we'll see some breakout this year as well, such as social, SocialFi, such as productivities, such as metaverse as well. And going back to Ryan's question, can I provide a few examples, for the audience for the members of the Huobi community? Okay, I'll just mention two names. Obviously, I have to, disclaimer, not a financial advice, do your own research,
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
Right. I'm just reporting as they are. All right. So, one of the most interesting applications out of the ecosystem is called Open Chat. Open Chat. So it does everything that the WeChat does as well, but only better. It runs completely on the ICP blockchain. So it's oc.app. That's a website. And what's exciting about Open Chat is it's going to start its public sale in the next 24 hours. Actually, less than 24 hours. So just that is something gonna be quite revolutionary, because I mean you guys have seen token getting listed every day. What's a big deal? It's a big deal because it is a decentralized public sale where the token the founding team of Open Chat, they will relinquish the control of the application and transfer that over to a new DAO created after this public sale. So after the sale is concluded, they will no longer control the application. It will be in the hands of this DAO, which is controlled by the community. And the community consists of all the members that are holders of the token, which is called a chat, CHAT. So we believe the first of that kind in the whole world. Not only just tokenized, but also just willingly for the founders to seek control of their own creation to the community. That's the kind of decentralization we're talking about, internet computer. So that's going to happen in less than 24 hours. Number one. Number two is one of the most interesting DeFi shops in the ICP. It's called icdex.io, icdex.io. What is unique about that? It's, again, it runs 100% on the internet computer. The front end, back end, everything, all the data storage runs on the internet computer. So it's a good old, if you look at the, go to the landing page, it looks no different from Coinbase, Binance, Huobi, like a good old order book with where you can buy a couple of different trading pairs from IC, and very soon the chat token from Open Chat as well. So it's I believe it's the first decentralized exchange that's running 100% completely on the blockchain. So that itself is something very unique.
And I want to ask a question about the DEX, which runs on ICP. You're right. I agree. Most of the DEX, they actually don't process all transactions on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a crash. That's actually a problem. But how does ICP achieve that? Wouldn't it make the network a little bit slower than others? No.
You mean by publishing? The question is, Johnny, you mean are we making those transaction data available to the users?
No. I mean,
at least from a pure user standpoint, you can go check it out yourself for icdex.io. So it's very the website. If you do a transaction, it's very responsive. You can finalize a transaction literally within a split second. You almost don't feel any delay.
Okay, right.
Of course, if you're talking about specifically how do you curate transactions, that's number one. It is available because now we have a consensus in the ecosystem of IC. We call that ICRC1. It's a model after ERC. So Ethereum has the whole ERC system with different standards like 721 and ERC20. So for internet computer, we have ICRC. And the token standard right now is called ICRC1. So for this particular DEX and also for a few others, if you are a DeFi trader, you will to read the historical transactions of all this of all the token sales. So that is available. Does this slow down the app? Not from what I can tell. It seems to be fairly responsive and all that.
Yeah. So I just want to make once again a disclaimer. What we just said about not financial
very
advice.
Necessary. Not financial advice.
For information purpose only. Yeah. So always do your own research and don't make sure you do your own research. That's it. And Wilbur, I want to get back to the thing that you mentioned. ICP is going all in DeFi in 2023, and I think that's a very good start. And because in my point of view, I'm an analyst myself, investment analyst in cryptocurrency, and I think we're now at a stage of speculation, in which people only get attention. Projects only get attention from capitalizing and selling, marketing profits, and this is one of the greatest selling point. And having a TVL track on ICP, I think that also boosts attention, right? Because people can now finally have a way to measure the growth of ICP. When you said that ICP mainly an application infrastructure, and which makes it kind of makes it hard to measure the growth and also the progress on how is the project going. Yeah, that's what I think about it. What do you think about this TVL measuring, having track record about how of a project? Yeah,
I think that is super important. We need to have that. I think as I was trying to answer Ryan's question earlier, in the stage 2 of our ecosystem growth, I'm hoping that 12 months from now, a lot of members of Huobi will recognize that we are becoming more and more like the rest of the crypto friends. I think in the first year, when we we burst into the scene, we launched the mainnet, and people realized we are just very different. And so that was part of the growing pains. There was a lot of challenges on the marketing side, on the PR side, on the communication side. But then I think as we grow out of that sort of awkward, sort of coming of age phase with all this direct integration with Bitcoin and, very soon Ethereum, I think people will realize we are becoming more and more crypto as people give us credit for. And that includes reporting our growth using industry standard numbers such as TVL. We want to get on the radar screen of DeFi Llama, of Debt Radar and all that, Dune Analytics. Eventually, we don't have that, which it was part of because it's such a nascent early stage ecosystem. So a lot of the numbers, a lot of the statistics, and some of the technologies simply were not available. For example, for the IC ecosystem to be able to report a TVL, we are relying on this integration with Ethereum. That's why you don't see a number there, but it's gonna change. It's gonna change very soon. So I think that's gonna make us. I think that's gonna bring us a lot closer to the crypto developers in this industry, and we need that. We want the creativity from Web3. We need to enable the DeFi players, and we are hoping that with our technology, the DeFi traders and the financial, fintech entrepreneurs will be, because we believe our technology, opens doors for a whole new world that was just not available in the past.
Great, good insights, Herbert. Good insights. Very excited for the TVL and also the open chat that is going up soon. So you mentioned that there's 3 stages for ICP. We are currently moving towards stage 2. Can you explain a bit on stage 3 and the expected timeline moving forward for ICP?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for that question. So stage three is really, the focus is to drive adoption beyond the IC ecosystem. To me, I think that's our paramount goal eventually. We want to not just go to, not only just reach out to the Ethereum camp or, Chainlink and, IPFS camp. We want to reach out to beyond crypto, want to reach out to the traditional Web2 developers, because we eventually, it goes back to our root, our very original vision of disrupting this whole highly centralized, monopolized space dominated by the big tech. We want to go back to that. For that, we need to drive user adoption. That means we need to be able to incubate killer applications. We want to see our own version of Stepan or Axie Infinity. I mean, when they were trending, right? We wanted to see that, or Blur, for that matter. We wanted to see those killer applications that can change how people look at things, that can really provide value to the what is NFT traders or the gamers, or the or people who are very health conscious and all that. So I think that's what we need in stage 3. It's really to incubate the future generation of unicorns that hopefully will be a lot different from TikTok, a lot different from the previous generation. I mean, think about it. Internet hasn't really changed that much in the last 15 years. It has always been, for a whole generation of entrepreneurs, or they grow up with Alibaba, Tencent, and then Baidu and all that. But things were different, before they came along. Things were a lot more democratic, a lot more decentralized, a lot more creative. We want to go back to that. I think for that we need more users, just everyday internet users. My mom, my dad, and my neighbors, my alumni. Everybody will be able to, without getting caught up in the whole crypto Web3 terminology, understand the value proposition of those applications from Open Chat or IC DAX and use them. So that's what we need to do in stage 3.
Okay, yeah, so really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, stage 3 is more like a user onboarding stage, right?
Yes.
Mass adoption. Okay.
Yes.
So it's more about user experience and
yes,
the designs. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Herbert, would you mind I ask some, seemingly irrelevant question? I'm sorry for my pronunciation.
No, not at all. Please.
Yeah, I think you are more an expert in innovative technology than myself, because I'm mainly a financial analyst. But recently, I came across a narrative about AI. Yeah, artificial intelligence, and it has been a very popular narrative in crypto right now since the OpenAI exploded. And is there any possibility that this thing will be incorporated onto blockchain? And last week I joined a Twitter space and I met an interesting guy. He said he's building something like a decentralized artificial intelligence computation system, which allows people to borrow computation power from the mining rigs of Ethereum, because since Ethereum switched to proof of stake, there are a lot of unused, abandoned mining rigs, and they somehow collected these mining rigs and form a big machine for powering the artificial intelligence, and they're gonna decentralize it. And I wonder what your fields do with this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting question, Johnny. People have tried this before. Remember Golem Network?
I haven't heard about it. Please educate me.
So GOLEM. This was actually before my time, actually, before I joined this whole industry. But I believe what they did, they're still around. What they do is you can, as a user, you can lease out your machine so that just contribute machine to a much bigger pool, so that people can, so the Golem network can use the power to do rendering, to do graphics rendering, with all this animation, all these special effects, and all that. So that's what they do. So it has been tried before. How successful that is, I think that is something that I think for the, it's I think still quite a early days. But I think eventually, this kind of question comes around every few years.
Okay.
Every few years. So it's not this is not the first time people want to do decentralized computation power. We talk about this whole proof of useful work consensus in the beginning of our talk. Essentially, I think if we play this out, if the now obviously POW and POS, they dominate the whole landscape. But if there's a room for growth for proof of useful work, maybe part of the work can be a highly specialized, computation power just for training artificial intelligence. Why not? That is entirely possible.
Okay, I see.
Right?
I see.
So, for example, right now on IC, okay, this gets to become, highly speculative. So please, this is just purely speculative or imagination for the future, right? Right, all our network, our subnets, they have consistent throughputs, right? So, that's necessary for the network. So we have the same hardware specification for all the node providers. They have to provision their machine in exactly the same, with the same parameters, so that as a network, as a subnet, the subnet can produce consistent throughput. But in the future, I see a future where it's entirely possible once ICP becomes really big, there'll be different kinds of subnets. Maybe some subnets, they'll be catered to, security, which means the network will be running a little slower. We make some conscious trade-off choices, but then with super high security. And then, usually right now the standard is 13 nodes for a typical subnet. But if, as an app developer, if you're building something like a Uber that needs a very high level of security, you can certainly change that dynamically. Go to another subnet with even higher number of nodes required for reaching a consensus. And then another version of this whole thing is, okay, maybe a subnet can be created that's catered for computation power for AI. So that is entirely possible, I think. And that's where the industry is going, I guess.
That's a very interesting vision towards, the possibility of, having subnet connecting to AI in the future.
Oh, and also, Johnny, if I may add, because that's something I do think, why we all feel so passionate in Dfinity about ICP. The canister, I talk about the canister that is really our form of smart contract, right? Each canister, the memory right now is 48 megabyte, 48 gigabyte memory. And eventually we're gonna expand that to 300 gigabyte memory. So imagine if you have a canister with a 300 gigabyte stable memory, it can do a lot of things. You can easily host whatever kind of a personal blog websites you have. You can stream music. You can turn that into your home entertainment server. And you can probably, I'm sure some smart engineers can figure this out one day to port like a GPT-3 module into the stable memory of a canister on IC. That is possible. But that's not our roadmap, so we cannot make any promise. But that's something that we welcome all the software engineers, to come to our ecosystem, give it a try.
Okay, thanks, Herbert. That's really amazing. And I think we're running out of time. We have talked about a lot of things. We cover a lot of interesting things to our Huobi users. Maybe about what they should pay attention to ICP in the coming months or whatever. Yeah.
I think already. Thank you for this opportunity, Johnny and Ryan and Huobi. And maybe as a parting word, I think given that I've already sort of introduce open chat and ICDEX, to our friends here, I would just encourage all the members of Huobi, just imagine a future world. Computation, this is how this world looks like. Computation is a utility, just like water. You pay for what you need, right? You turn on the faucet and then you have computation, whether that is computation power for training another digital twin of yourself, or another AI, that is up to you. And so that's number one. Number two, you own 100% of all your data. Everything, whether that is your entire resume from your professional career or all the medical, reports from, the last 10 years, and you own 100% of that. And also, you make money. You can, if you want to, you make money by leasing your personal data to others. And that could be any fashion brand. It could be Lululemon. It could be Adidas. It could be Nike. It could be Starbucks. It could be Man Coffee. If you choose to. Right now, you cannot do that because you don't own the data. But in the future, that is a reality. No Google, no Alibaba. So there's no platform risk. You are assured that your data. Let's say if you are a blogger, if you are a writer, all your articles will always persist, not for the next 5 years, not for the next 10 years, but for the next 100 years. So if an alien one day, as Liu Cixin imagined, one day they visit the Earth, they will discover what you wrote 100 years ago. That is possible. That requires a decentralized network for something like that to persist into eventuality. And also you will spend a lot of time trying to verify you are a human, and also you are a different human. With the rise of ChatGPT, it's not going to be easy, but you will be able in this world to authenticate who you are with your biometric data. By the way, friends, that is the vision we call blockchain singularity, where most, if not all, the applications on the current internet will be running on blockchain. And that is a vision we have for the internet computer. So that will be all.
About data preservation and singularity, very interesting stuff. I think we are running out of time right now, but I want to take this opportunity to thank Herbert to join our AMA and to share your educational and also insightful thoughts about technology. This quote from Herbert yourself, and then let's hope you have a good day, and then thanks Huobi users for listening. And anyways, we're going to upload this video onto YouTube. And thanks Herbert. Thanks Herbert for your time. Thanks Ryan for co-hosting with me.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Huobi. Thank you, everyone. Take it easy. It's a pleasure. Right.
Same.